there are a lot of problems that the developers are facing, and they have actually gone through an intermediary to the Prime Minister himself with a very loud message, please help us. Today, we're talking about why you needed to do this and what exactly do you need from the Prime Minister's office. So, Ajay, would you like to start? Why did you feel that you had to make a public message out before you could be heard?
For the last 70, 80 days of what COVID we are facing, the problems of COVID, we have been writing numerous letters to the finance minister, to various ministers, the ministries, about the problems that we are facing regarding the RBI, regarding the finance minister's portfolio. Whatever our requirements are, we have been addressing. We have addressed 195 representations, and there have been not a single feedback, neither at a meeting. And that is the reason why we thought it is very important that wrong messages were flying around, uninformed or messages which were going around by various people coming on various platforms. We're talking certain things which needs to be cleared. The air has to be clear. Okay, what is the view of the government? The government should hear us and then give the decision on that. And that is what our requirement was. That is why we requested the former chief minister to intervene and take our matter to the highest authority.
Right. Ajay, what specifically does the developer community need to kickstart this business now?
As we all know, the entire economy of the country is in doldrums at this point of time. Even before COVID, the developers were having large-scale problems. The economy was looking down. We all were hearing that Modi has put us down. We have various ratings were putting India's economy, downgrading in India's economy, and it was a big concern. And nothing needs to be said. Everybody understands very well construction industry is the industry which has 360-degree, which takes care of all the industries which are associated with us. With 250 industries associated with us, it is very, very important. If this industry survives, if right kind of support this industry gets, all other industries are taken care of. Example, the MSMEs, what Honorable Prime Minister is, his dream is to put it forward. All the MSMEs are again dependent on our industry because they are our effectual suppliers.
Right.
So the idea was that unless and until we this sector has been properly supported by the government, all other sectors would really not kick off. And if this sector kicks off, the entire economy revives. And once the economy revives,
can you identify what exactly you're asking for? There's finance. I can see that that's a big requirement. Working capital, right?
Finance. The biggest issue is we all have debts.
Yeah.
And there has to be a restructuring of the debts. So that is one major demand that we have, because otherwise everybody will fall into a non-performing NPA zone, and which will lead to a big round of problem. Secondly, we definitely require a lot of support as far as the bank interest rates is concerned. The repo rate has been coming down, but there has been no effective change in the lending rates to us. And even the home buyers, the rates are very, there are two aspects to it. One is the lending rate given to us, that has to come down to make our business viable. And second, the lending rate to the home buyers, even that has to come.
Home buyers has come down significantly.
It's still not comes down. It has to be, according to us, it has to come at 5%. The spread which the bank is getting is much higher than what it should be. So when you want to kickstart the economy, government has to focus on it. Once the lending rates come down, this is a time where it should be around 5%, 5.5%. So then that will really help the home buyers to come out and buy. Ultimately, without people buying it, how is this industry going to survive? most important part is selling.
Rajesh, is bringing down interest for the developers? Yes, you need working capital at lower rates because there has been a lockdown, there has been a slowdown. What about for the consumer? Just dropping interest rates means it's come down to 6.25 to 7.25 effective lending rates. But have you seen consumers come out in large numbers starting to buy? Is it only dropping interest rates, or is there something else that the consumer is waiting for?
Hi, Jayashree. Thanks for having me on your show once again. The earlier question, I wish to just add a little that although we have a national body, the CREDAI National, and they have worked in a humongous fashion. They have worked so hard, got various meetings with the Honorable Prime Minister also once, and with the Finance Secretary, Principal Secretary, and all those people who matter. But somehow, we were getting delusioned because there was no positivity coming from the central government. And the small developers from the MMR region were getting, very, very upset and frustrated. And therefore, Ajay Ashar, he took that initiative and formed the MMR Action Committee under his chairmanship. And the idea was to find an alternative route. This route of our CREDAI National going and talking to the various people and trying to get things done has been going on for the last 2.5 years, but not much success was seen. So we thought, why don't we specifically petition the government on a change.org platform where the pain of the people is heard and actually seen by the number of people who sign. So the separate petition route was, that's different route by which, when they say when one door closes, you have to try to open another one. So that is the thing which we did. And coming to your question, Jayashree, it is imperative that the interest rates for home buyers is reduced, especially when in these conditions when the home buyers the home buyers are feeling the pinch of salary cuts, salary problems, irregular salaries, or so in these times, if the interest rate is reduced a little, quite a bit, then their eligibility also increases. So it's not only whether they will be buying or not, that decision, but if a person has to buy a 2 BHK, he will not buy a 2 BHK if his eligibility is low because his interest rates are low. So once the interest rates come down, the eligibility also increases. Number of people going in for a added home also increases, and therefore the chances of sales increases. It's a very big psychological factor. As you know, the industry works on psychology. This our industry, perception and psychology. So this psychology that yes, this is the time when the interest rates are at its lowest. If I buy at this point of time, I might get the lowest EMIs for the entire 15, 20 years or 10, 15 years. So this is the best time to buy. That psyche has to go into the customer's mind. That is why we are asking for interest rate lowering up to 5%. And, that will definitely spur up the demand. We are seeing a little demand coming in after people getting used to this COVID situation and coming out of their houses. Demand is picking up, but yes, it would pick up much more if the interest rates are brought down to 5%.
Sure. Now, the other question that I want both of you to answer is, when you say, I heard you say in your webinar yesterday that the small developers of MMR need a lot of support. Rajesh, you also mentioned the small developers. How is the small developers' need any different from the large developers' needs, and what kind of interventions are required here?
Typically, the small developers are the developers who are dependent on 2 projects, who are developing 2 or 3 projects,
right?
And they don't have that large capital base with them. There is project specific. If that project gets into trouble, his entire economy gets into trouble. So it is very important. The moment he gets into a zone of NPA, then once you are NPA, then getting any funds from anywhere is a very big issue. So the government has to take care that he should not get into an NPA zone because of all problems. He should remain, his liquidity should remain intact. Government should see that RERA is already taking care of his liquidity going in the right direction. In the meanwhile, give him some more time to regroup himself. And in that time, various other measures are required, which would again support him as the interest rate which will spur the demand. See, simultaneously, two roles government has to play. One is sustaining the people who are there, and second is spurring the demand. Once the demand is there, then this whole ecosystem will come into its own place.
Okay. Rajesh, how many small developers have actually signed the petition?
The petition is totally signed by 35,000, approximately 35,000 people. These include the small developers, their staff, their contractors, their architects, the brokers from this region, and also the suppliers, the vendors, and their staff. So the entire ecosystem of the developers which are developing this in MMR region have given a lot of support to this petition, and they see this as a last resort before going into a really big agitation or something, because there has to be the frustration is coming out in a lot, and it has to be channelized in a positive manner. Therefore this petition is there, and we feel that once this petition gets a due recognition, because we are sure that this 35,000 will increase to a lakh or 1.5 lakhs also in the next 10-15 days. And I think the powers that be should be noticing us. Already the Honorable ex-PM has taken up our cause. And I feel also Nirmala Sitharamanji, the finance minister, has also tweeted that yes, she will look into these matters with a fresh outlook. So I definitely feel that this may work. We all feel that this may work. But then, our level of frustration has gone too high, and we are already in a very agitated state of mind. Yeah.
Ajay, how many small developers are there in the MMR region? And if for those of us who don't understand what all constitutes MMR, maybe you'd like to spell out Thane, Raigad, so on.
See, MMR region also includes Mumbai also.
Yeah.
So if you include Mumbai, and we have Thane, Mira Bhayandar, Vasai Virar, Raigad, we have Navi Mumbai, we have Panvel, the entire belt is there. There should be around not less than 4,000 developers here who are working day in and day out and doing various kind of projects, various sizes.
Okay. And when you say small developers, does the size of the unit also matter?
Of the size, it can be various sizes, but we are all aware that anything beyond Mumbai today does not attract anything big in size. It is all small, 1 BHK, 2 BHK is maximum it goes. There are hardly any apartment which are bigger than 2 BHK. They all fall in the below 60 meter, and everybody is taking advantage of the ATIBA provision that has been given.
Okay, right. Ajay, when a loan is restructured, you're asking for a loan restructuring. When a loan is restructured, just help us understand for our audiences, what exactly are you asking? That there will be a
loan has a typical tenure. For example, I have taken a construction loan which is for 4 years, and I have to complete the entire transaction within, say, 4 years. Now, when I am taking a sanction, it is still, there are some permissions which are pending. There is the first time gap of the permissions which come through. So eventually, after I get CC, and when I start, the loan period certainly has gone down. From 4 years, it comes down to 3 years, or maybe. Now, if it is a 30-story building or a 40-story building, eventually it takes more time. And we have to complete the entire cycle of construction and also selling and repaying in that time period. Right. Now, what we are looking at is, because of the downturn, because of COVID, We don't know how long and this situation will last, whether the sales will pick up or what will happen. So all these loans which are likely to be where repayment has to start, and still we are paying interest, it is one factor. The moratorium is there, it is one factor. Once we have to start repaying back, there are large sums of money which have to go. Now, if the sales are not going to be there, obviously this repayment is going to create a problem. So what happens in restructuring is it's like giving another, the same bank or NBFC gives a loan to the same person. He restructures it. Again, new terms are put, new tenure is put, your rate of interest, everything is relooked at. And again, it is like refixing for another term. Maybe it may be extended for 1 year, 2 year, whatever the need may be, whatever the stage of the project may be. Accordingly, it can be restructured by the banks. So that helps, it gives a new lease of life for the developer, that he is not compelled to finish the transaction with the bank. If you don't fulfill the bank requirements, you straight away default. Once you default, then all act starts. And then, it is very difficult to come back from that stage. So before going into this stage, it should be corrected. That is whatever.
Okay. Now, if this loan is restructured, what does it do to the completion timelines?
But completion timelines, everybody is, if an end-to-end, the cost is measured and it has been put up, and if the loans are being functioned properly, obviously all the developers will complete the work. As for today, RERA is concerned, it does not, it requires 70% of your the cash flow to go into the construction. So it does not allow you to do anything. So that takes care of that. Construction will happen fast. And as construction happens fast, the entire economy revives. Your sale will happen once your construction is finished. So it pushes the whole process and gets everything streamlined.
Okay. Rajesh, if once you, let's assume that this is going to work, that loans will be restructured, which is one of the crying needs that the industry has been raising. If the loan is restructured and you get your money to complete your project, and let's assume that sales have not picked up to the extent that you have predicted, what happens then? You're left with standing stock, right?
Yeah.
What
Yes.
is so you've evaded the NPA bullet, but there's still a consumer sales which is very slow right now.
Yes.
How does that impact this industry?
Jayashree, going for a restructuring of loan is like pressing the reset button. So the entire financial liability or financial credit, both are reset. So this is for the loans which are already in existence. So when I have a project at an X location and I know what is the sales velocity going on over there, so accordingly, as Ajay pointed out, maybe for a year or maybe for 2 years, I know that I have 500 flats, and every year I am able to sell 50, 60 flats or 80 flats. So I will be able to, once the loan is back to me, the finances are available. In the next 2 years, I'll be able to sell to construct the entire project. And once that project is completed, thankfully at this point of time, there is enough, a demand for completed flats or ready possession flats. So it's usual in our system that we definitely take up the finances as they come in for purpose of construction. And once the project is completed, the flats sell like hot, potatoes, and the money comes in, which goes into the repayment of the loan. This is a general way of working in our industry. Most of the bankers know it. Everyone follows that same method. But the point here is, due to this, unrealistic or without any reason, this stoppage has come. Because of this, uncertainty, we are left high and dry as far as the finances are concerned. We don't know, because maybe in 6 months down the line, I was able to complete the project. but now I am not able to complete it. And 6 months down the line, my repayment is starting. So if I don't get the finance now, then I will have to go to become an NPA. I did not deserve to be an NPA. I was, but then without any reason, I will have to become an NPA. So that is the problem now. Unless that loan is restructured and I get a lease of life for another 1 year, between which I can complete the project, then the ready possession flats sell literally very fast, and the entire money, it goes towards repayment. That is how the whole ecosystem works.
Right. Right now, once you get money, the first effort is to complete the projects as soon as possible.
Yes.
Right?
That is the only place, because even the financial institutions, the housing finance companies, they also monitor the funds which are coming inside from them. They monitor very closely, and they definitely ensure that that their funds are going towards the construction activity. So they do not allow any taking away of any funds from the loan to another project or even another use.
Ajay, in the past, there have been delays of projects, but with RERA in place and MARERA being a very strong entity, do you see that this restructuring of loans will have a much better chance of most projects going through to completion?
Yes, it should definitely. It would be, because with MARERA the cash flow is controlled, and that was the most important thing, and that has been rightly controlled. And I don't think there should be any problem. As Rajesh bhai said, the restructuring would help. I would like to add, in our petition there are 2 or 3 more demands, which is also for the purpose of increasing the demands is made so that the sales would increase. One is the interest rate that should be lowered down, and second is also we have asked for one of the other is to uplift the demand of loan interest. The under section 24B, there has to, the interest rate deduction which a customer gets is limited to 2 lakhs. We have demanded, don't limit it to 2 lakhs, raise that so that the customers flock in. Third important thing is regarding the GST input credit, which will help us. Right now, what is happening, because of the GST, 5% GST, customers are waiting till the end of the project, not to book, and they can book only till the end of the project. If input credit is done, we can very well adjust that. And if we can adjust that, then the sales will happen very quickly.
You had input credit earlier. The developers had asked for a lower GST without input credit, right? It was a demand that came from the industry. What has changed now?
I would like to correct. This is what everybody feels, that the demand came from the industry, but actually that is not the case. We were not totally heard. In the last minute, it was said, okay, we can do this and nothing more than this. So like beggars are not choosers. That was the situation. So at that time, rather than having it at such a high rate, 12%, it was better that it is at 5%. But you imagine right now the situation is we are paying all the GST for all our materials, and top of that 5% for this. So it is becoming too much. Straight away 5% of the sales is a very huge number which goes to the exchequer. So it is very important, this input credit has to be done. When all this is done, the system will automatically come into the place.
How does the loan restructuring impact the buyers? Because I have a very large number of buyers who are logged in, and I'd like you to explain that when the industry asks for restructuring of the loans, how it works in favor of the buyers.
In favor of the buyers, because it is very important that each project gets completed. Any project which is left halfway because of financial problem of the developer ultimately becomes the problem of the buyer. Everybody, the banks, the developer, and the customer, all are happy if the project is completed.
Right.
Unless the project is completed, no one is going to be happy. We have seen so many projects lying in the lurch, especially in the NCR region where the Supreme Court has got into the act. There are various problems which happened at that point of time. That is a separate issue altogether. But we can see because the projects were not completed, everybody was in problem. It is very important from home buyers' point of view also that the developer has to be protected. Protected from this COVID, protected from the downturn, whatever the situation is, because all projects that we do last for 3 to 4 years minimum. And how things will shape up in the next 3-4 years, nobody can predict. So it is very important that right now this step is done for the benefit of home buyers also, that the developers survive this, and once they survive this, it will go through properly.
I think a stronger message than that needs to go, because I have somebody called Ashwini Sharma who's written to us on Facebook, and it's a public forum, right? And he's written, builders promise a lot but fail to deliver, not to be helped at any cost. And I'd like to tell you, Ashwini Sharma, if your builder is not helped at this point of time through this pandemic, what will happen is the project will not go through. If the builder defaults and the builder is not able to complete the project, you will also suffer. It's not a question of I don't want the builder to be helped. And I think a strong message here is that if the builders get that money, if the builders get the restructuring, the first aim and intent has to be to complete projects, no matter how much they were delayed in the past, no matter what has happened in the past. Today, like Ajay and Rajesh both said, you've pressed a reset button. 2 months, there has been more than 2 months, there has been no work on the site. Somewhere you will have to restart the work and allow that work to come to a point where the builder can start repaying. And that I think is the main objective, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Right.
Right. Okay. Is reduction in stamp duty also included in the petition filed by the developers?
This petition is basically towards the central government. The issues of the central government are taken up in this petition. What the stamp duty is a state government subject. We are right now engaged with the state government. We are talking to them continuously in the dialogue. They are listening to us. We have already formed a committee where I am a member and few of our co-developers are member who have engaged with state. And state has all our demands they have noted down and they are starting to take steps. So because of this last 70-80 days, because of COVID lockdown, that work has not progressed further. But we are very hopeful that state is very well aware of what the problems are. We have apprised them of everything. The Honorable Chief Minister sir also knows the problem. He himself sat through the meeting which went on. So he knows each and every problem. He is trying to address it. So once, if we are not addressed and we are not, our demands are not met, then we will go towards state. But at this point of time, we are engaged with them and we are talking to them. Till we get the results, we have not put in any petition or any demand to them.
What about those income tax, the guideline values, the guidance values, the circle rates and so on, and you are not able to sell below those rates, which is detrimental to both the developers as well as the consumers. Would you like to, is that something that you have raised to the central government?
Yes, we have definitely raised the 43 CA section in the Income Tax Acts. It makes mandatory that whatever the ready reckoner rates are there, both the buyer and seller, if they don't adhere to those ready reckoner rates, then both of us will have to pay income tax on that. And then there is penalties and levies if we don't do that. So because of that, we are wanting to we have requested since now a lot of places already this red rates. So we have been requesting them for last 5 years or more rule. You please change it or lower the ready reckoner rates. Either of the two has to be done.
Right. Rajesh, in 2008, when the government allowed restructuring, a lot of projects were there was a loan restructuring, but it didn't yield the results that it was supposed to. What has changed now, and how can you assure consumers that this round of restructuring is different?
You see, in 2008, the major difference between 2008 and 2020 is that 2008 was a purely financial issue. This time it's not only a financial issue; it's a public health issue. It's a pandemic situation where it's not whether a developer was doing business properly with taking into account every situation, economic prudence, and some developers were not. So at that point of time, that was the problem. Here, the problem is overall. It's definitely very much it's very much different than the situation over there. But the main difference between the two situations was that at that point of time there was no Maharera. Now there is a Maharera, or in the entire India there is RERA. Now this RERA will definitely protect the interest of the flat buyers. At that point of time, maybe some of the developers may have used the money in some other avenues, which the liquidity which came to them. Possibly, I'm not sure, but that is a possibility. But here in this case, the financial institution is very strongly into our cash books, and they monitor each and every check which we are depositing as well as giving out. So Maharera is already there. We have already end date. Most of the people who are asking for a restructuring of loan are not people who have already finished the project. They are all people who the projects where the construction is still going on, and it is only since March that there is a problem. So what we are saying is March has gone, April has gone, May has gone, now June is already going almost. So already we have lost 3 months. We don't know because the migrant labor has already gone, and when they will come back, maybe by Diwali or maybe later or maybe a little sooner also. But more or less, we are thinking that it is by Diwali that the migrant laborers may return. Uh, as per a research done by MCHI, most of the developers said that 9 to 12 months is the mean time by which the construction will start once again in full swing. And that much time we don't have because we have already, committed to repay our loans at a certain point of time with the banks. So if that happens, then there is a problem. Now again, uh, every developer, while giving his end date to the Maharera or to the RERA, definitely keeps some gap. If I say that my project is going to be completed in 3 years, I will take at least 3.5 years time from RERA or 4 years time. So in order to take up some exigencies or contingencies, sometimes the raw material is not available. Sometimes there is a slow sales. We don't know what happens. So most of the projects which will be taking the loans are those projects where the deadline is still yet to come. So there is no problem for the consumer. The consumer has already been told that you will be getting the flat in 2023 or 2022. So before that, everything comes up and is in place. And there is still an avenue left for the consumer. If there is a delay and if it is inordinate, he can definitely approach the RERA forum or the consumer forum for relief. I mean, that is there already for them.
And that is something that consumers need to understand, that in 2008, there was no RERA. There was no forum where you could go into appeal. And today,
Yes.
there is a RERA which is not only monitoring the stages of construction and ensuring that construction is going on, your money is used. Remember that money is also in escrow accounts. So it's not free access to money unless you reach those stages of construction. And the second thing, like Rajesh said, is that there has been a buffer time, and that buffer would probably help you. Ajay, I wanted to ask you, is it possible that you will have to use more technology to speed up construction, because also because labor is going to be in short supply for some time?
We need to, but the designs are such, when we start our construction, at that point of time, the design is set. So whatever projects which are ongoing, to really add anything to speed up the construction would not be very easy. On the finishing part, yes, we may try to do it as much as we can, but it has to be designed for fast construction. If we want machineries to come in, it has to be designed in that way. And halfway projects, it would be very difficult to change any design. So it will have to go through the same process. Process will not be able to change to ongoing projects. To new projects, yes, definitely we would try and have more mechanization.
And that's another conversation that we'll pick up with you separately. But thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining us. I think it's important that the consumers understand that this restructuring and this petition was, yes, Rajesh, just 1 minute, that this petition was not only so that developers come out of the woods, it's also so that projects finish on time and you get your houses on time. Yes, Rajesh.
Yeah, that is what I was also coming to. That this petition is out there on the social media. It's on change.org, and I would like to invite all the customers. It's not us only; it is for the entire industry. It includes the customers, the vendors, the contractors, architects. So everyone, whoever is watching this show, we really would like their support to come in and sign the petition, so that the government wakes up and looks with a compassionate eye to our real estate industry.
See, the name of the petition is Revive Real Estate and Revive Economy. So it is the entire economy that we are focusing on. And our say is that if you revive real estate, the entire economy is going to be revived. So
Sure.
the petition is based on that.
Sure. And that's where I think I'm going to end the show. The developer and the consumer has to be on the same side of the table.
Yes.
The aim has to be to complete the projects, and whatever demands are being made is towards completion of projects and getting those houses to those owners on time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Jayashree, for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.